Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Isla Napali, episode number, I have absolutely no freaking idea. It's season 2 still, we are on a very good way to slowly finishing that project, and today is one of my favorite episodes in the last couple of weeks. Why? You will find out in this video, so make sure to stick with me, sit back, relax, enjoy, and if it's hot around where you live, as it is in Germany right now, grab yourself something to drink and enjoy today's episode. So yes, if you're following me on various social media such as Twitter or Facebook, or Facebook actually is dead, but Instagram and Twitch, you will potentially know what's happening today. However, it still is pretty interesting, I guess, to listen to my plans. For those of you who are not on these different social medias, for whatever reason you're not, but today's episode is really one of those things that I plan to do for quite a long time, and this has been requested, I think, a million times for sure, in the whole course of Isla Napali, even in season 1, at the very beginning, at the end, I don't know. It has been asked so many times, and today I'm finally realizing it with a little spin to it, which some of you, maybe many of you, will hopefully like. But anyways, before we go actually into the build, you will see that there is a little bit of planning going on at this moment, and this is building the bus tour you have already seen in Wednesday's episode of Guest Flow. If you haven't seen that one, I highly recommend to watch this right now, because this explains a little bit better what I'm doing with the weird bus tour here and why the bus is in that cave in the background. It does fulfill a certain purpose. Let me just quickly explain. It definitely is meant to be a backstage tour, and this backstage tour will function as a bus for the employees only, so it's not something that the guest will be able to use, but the trick is you have to hide that away somehow, and we have to put the entrance and exit in there so that none of the guests can reach this bus station, so we can let it operate without any guests in there, so it seems as if there would be an empty bus driving around and only the staff members, there are actually 2 of them in the cockpit, which are pretty much looking like vendors with a bluish shirt, are driving around, which I think is a cool thing. Mike Sheets also used it in Nagali Park, and I have to say I've been experimenting with that for a few weeks now. I also tested the classic rides, the classic track ride with the classic cars. I tested also various other things, but the problem is they all can't stop. So the bus tour has this wonderful function to stop for a certain amount of time, which you can also set. And the cool thing about this is you can make them actually stop at gates, then let the gates open, and then let them go through. So it really looks like as if there is someone operating these gates for the backstage tour, because at some points in the park the backstage tour has to cross the actual pathway of the park. We will definitely hide that away as best as possible, but at some points they will need to cross, as I said, the normal walkway, and this is where we need those gates, and it's super cool that they can actually stop in front of it, so it looks even better. It doesn't really look that, as a ride, when it's still moving, the door opens, it's actually moving. It really looks nice. The bus slowly gets to a stop, and then the door opens and it slowly gets away again, so it really is something pretty cool looking. And I have to say, this is again one of these realism aspects I love about this park, that I usually won't go into, because it's, it is this little detail you don't necessarily need, and if it wouldn't be there, no one would notice. But since I know it's there and you know it's there, it's so cool to have that in the end as a very little detail. And I think this also defines why I'm still so in love with this project. Before we go into talk about actually what I'm doing here, while you're looking at some wonderful mesmerizing, hypnotizing, how's it called? Pronounced hypnotizing? I think it's hypnotizing terrain work. Anyways, it does the same with me, so that's why I can't pronounce it correctly. The thing about this park and being so realistic is also that people think, and also I've read some comments on the fact that, maybe there is a little bit of the creativity missing, and these kind of weird Rudi builds. For sure, it's something totally different, and I'm still pushed out of my comfort zone. It's still way easier for me to just go in and try to build something very nicely themed looking without too much looking into real sizes and proportions and all that kind of stuff. But creativity is not limited to how it looks in the end. Creativity is something that also pushes the limits and pushes what we can achieve with the game in terms of, I think usable is the wrong word, but in terms of elements that make the game feel even more alive and even more realistic. This is the overall and overarching concept of this park, and I still feel very comfortable with this concept because it always pushes me into a corner where I need to find a creative solution to overcome the limitations of the game. And please, before you go down in the comments and say, yeah, well, you know, in the first place we have these limitations and that's bad, blah, blah, blah. You know, there always will be a limitation in any game you can find. So the better the game has offers you some other tools to overcome things, the better the game is. And Planko offers a whole lot of tools to overcome certain, I don't want to say problems, I want to say missing things. And you know, backstage vehicles or staff vehicles are definitely a thing that for me are missing, but you know, it's not that kind of thing it's missing which is 100% necessary. It's something that I would love to have, but I might be the minority here. Anyways, it's definitely something that I wanted to achieve for quite a while now, and I think with the bus tour we definitely will achieve this target. But yeah, so enough talk about creativity, the backstage tour and whatnot. Let's talk about this area over here which we have, and I am, since you have seen the thumbnail anyways, there's no need to basically hide what I'm building here. So I'm building the helipad, and you might remember that at the very beginning of Napali, this side of the park was actually meant to be a airport where was a landing runway actually made out of gravel and stuff. Or actually not gravel, it was like sand, because that makes a lot more sense. Landing on gravel might not be the best idea. Anyways, the thing is, you guys were absolutely right back then that this is completely unnecessary for an island this size. So what we still need, especially for the healthcare and also for security reasons and stuff, we need definitely this kind of thing here, which is a helipad. Because all these kind of things, like for example, if you have like a heavy injury where someone needs to be brought to a real hospital, you need a very quick supply of help, and this could be done with the helicopter. And since this whole thing, and now the story gets a little bit weird, but it's not that weird actually, it's just you have to go around a few corners until you're where I'm going to get you now. Okay, this is weird. Anyways, so this landing platform is heavily inspired by Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park movie, where you have the helipad at the very beginning of the movie when there are the two jeeps and Hammond gets Alan Grant and the other guys, brought into the Jurassic Park by these vehicles from the heli landing pad. This one is really right in front, like right across of the Jurassic Falls, how they are called. And the Jurassic Falls are actually not only a film element. Well, actually they have been there before, but they just weren't called Jurassic Falls. They were just, I think they were even called somewhat Nahengani Falls, if I remember correctly. No, it definitely wasn't that word. Anyways, they were called differently in the past. And so 2 years ago, well actually 1 year ago, when I've been to Hawaii, we've been flying past with a helicopter, because you can't really get there by car. You need to fly there actually, because that's the film set. It's in the middle of the jungle and you can't get there by foot or by car. You need to fly there, and we just flew past. We didn't land there because you need a special permission to land there. And while we've been flying there, we are pretty sure that they have been shooting for a Jurassic World movie, and since Jurassic World 2 was already done by this time, I'm pretty sure that was for Jurassic World 3, but yeah. So I had the chance to see these Jurassic Falls in real, and I also had the chance to see the movie again, obviously. Well, it was easy, just watching on Netflix or whatever. But the thing is, I got heavily inspired by this again in here. And since Napali Island, and here's the twist, Napali Island is heavily inspired by Kauai Island, which is the oldest of the 5 Hawaiian islands, which again, is exactly that island that Jurassic Park has been filmed on, at least most of it has been filmed on. So this was the twist here. So since I'm really in love with that island, and I'm really in love with the movie, and I'm really in love with the Jurassic Falls, I thought it would be a cool fit to bring that in here in this park as well, to make sure that at least it's, you know, it's not a one-by-one copy. I didn't want to make it exactly the same. I wanted to get my own spin on it. So it's really not exactly the Jurassic Falls copy here. It's definitely heavily inspired by it, and I think at the very first glance you're pretty easy to confuse those two, but in the end it's definitely an own take on it. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the result, to be honest, because it really fits the Isla Napali theme. Well, it should, because definitely it is filmed on Kauai, which this is the island this is built on and based on. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I thought it was just a little cool thing to bring in here and to have it on Napali Island, because yeah, I know it's I don't know, it's maybe just my love of the movie or whatever, but I just feel comfortable having this in the park. And yeah, anyways, there will be a huge cut now because I basically forgot to record like an hour of work. So in the next couple of seconds you will see a huge cut towards a lot more. And yeah, here you can see already there is the helicopter already standing on top of that finished helipad. And I've seen some comments on Instagram stating that the railings were a bit too high and too dangerous for the helipad. I think that was a forced perspective issue, because as you can clearly tell from the video, these iron railings around that platform are low enough, so there's absolutely no danger for the helicopter whatsoever. It just is perfectly fine, I guess. I just wanted to make them because they looked a little bit nicer and just fence the whole area a bit nicer off. But yeah, so since I didn't want to have the bus just appearing right off the mountain here without any context, I decided to build a little bit of a little housing here, which then is like a garage thing where the bus actually could come out of, so to just fake it, and to hide the ugliness of what is just going through the terrain there. And I wanted to give it a little bit of purpose here. So this is why I built this very simple building. So it's nothing major, it's just very simple, just making sure that there is something. And yeah, since this is totally backstage, totally not functional at all, it's just something that, you know, is here to make sure that it doesn't really look that weird. So if anyone is going into this area of the park and wants to see the bus tour or whatever, you can at least tell that I try to hide it away. I think this is the only purpose of this building. And yeah, then I have to say huge props to Operateur at this point, because there's one skill I totally forgot about in the past couple of months, I have to say, and this is really thinking windows and doors actually into the wall. So I got a little bit lazy in terms of making these little bits and pieces here and there, just because I think, I don't know, the pieces in-game became so good that it felt a little bit unnecessary to do that kind of stuff. And yeah, just by looking at what Operateur has done for Staliva, and if you don't know Staliva, this is the cooperation between Operateur and Silverred and me. We are building a Russian themed factory coaster, self-built coaster, as you could have guessed. Operateur and I are doing the theming around this, which is heavily inspired by an old Russian factory slash iron factory slash military bases, if you will. At least this is what I kind of brought in there. I don't know if the other two guys like it or not, but I just did it anyways. But yeah, he taught me again how cool it is to really think stuff in, to give it that extra bit of depth and extra bit of detail. And so I was a lot more doing that recently, and I have to say the results really speak for themselves. If you compare them to those doors sticking out of the walls, it just looks so much better. So yeah, I totally have to say thanks, Operator, for reminding me how great that is, and that I have to, you know, just raise my lazy ass a little bit on this point and do it just to make sure it looks nice. Yeah, the rest of this episode is pretty much just slapping down some rocks and stuff to make sure that this all integrates and blends better into this area over here. And I can already slowly start to end this episode in terms of commentary. I basically want to remind you guys of of the comment section. I don't, you know, it's a reminder that it exists, I should say. Well, I have a bunch of game keys again. Like I've been sent a few of them. Some of them I had already in my Steam list, so I can't really redeem them myself anyway. So I wanted to give away some of them again. So if you guys are interested in a random game key, so you know, there are a few game keys I can offer, but they're all not that amazing games, but I looked into it so that they're at least somewhat you know, enjoyable, not that big of a trash I had in the past, so at least a little bit better. So if you're interested in those kind of keys, make sure to drop a comment down below in this video. And since I've been pre-recording quite a few of these Napali videos, there will be today, tomorrow, and on Sunday an Isla Napali video. I'll be giving away 3 of them, so make sure to comment below each video. Each of the comments has the same chance to win, so I'm randomly picking one winner in all of the 3 comment sections. So yeah, if you want, let me just know what do you think of Isla Napali so far, and what do you do in your summertime? Is it also that hot for you in your area where you're living, or is it colder? And yeah, do you agree that this Jurassic Park-ish inspired landing platform of the helicopter is nice? And would you have loved to see something else, or do you like the idea to integrate this whole area like I did here with the waterfall and in the back of the island as a Heli landing pad? And yeah. So I think that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I did enjoy this quite a bit, because this, as I said, is one of my most favorite episodes so far. Simply because we got a lot of stuff done. The whole setting is basically done, and it just, you know, it just perfectly fits into this area. Anyways, guys, it was a pleasure, as always, making this for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, make sure to like, subscribe, whatever. See you next time, and bye-bye.